The rain did not care about my grief. It fell heavy and cold, soaking my black dress as I stood by the fresh mound of earth that now held Javier, my husband of 30 years. The umbrella someone had offered me slipped from my hand, and I let the water strike my face. In that moment, I wanted the sky to punish me, to remind me that I was still alive when the man who had been my anchor was gone. My body trembled, not just from the storm, but from the hollowness inside me. I remember looking at the gravestone and whispering, "Why, Javier? Why did you leave me like this?" But deep down, another question burned hotter than grief. Had Javier taken secrets with him to the grave? The way he left so suddenly, the strange papers I had glimpsed in his office before the funeral, and the hushed conversations I overheard from family, none of it sat right with me. That was when I realized this was not only a story of death and mourning, this was the beginning of a painful truth, one that would shatter everything I thought I knew about love, loyalty, and my own marriage. And little did I know, in the darkest hour of my widowhood, an unexpected love was already waiting to find me. Before I dive deeper, let me pause for a moment to appreciate you, my dear listeners. Thank you for being here with me. To all my loyal subscribers, your presence is the fuel that keeps this channel alive. To every new visitor, I welcome you warmly, and I cannot wait for you to hit that subscribe button. Your likes, your comments, and your shares give this channel its heartbeat. I invite you to engage, to leave your thoughts in the comments, and to walk with me through this journey of love, loss, betrayal, and healing. Now, let us return to the story. My name is Irene. I am 55 years old, born and raised in Florida. My late husband's name was Javier. To many people, we seemed like the perfect couple. Javier had a warm smile that could calm storms, and I was his balance, the one who softened his sharp edges. Together, we built a home filled with laughter, children, and dreams. But on the night everything collapsed, Javier clutched his chest, and within minutes, he was gone. A heart attack, the doctors said. Quick, cruel, final. One moment he was sitting at the dining table, asking me to pass the salt, and the next his body slumped forward, lifeless. The days that followed were a blur of casseroles from neighbors, endless condolences, and the sound of my children crying in the night. I felt like a ghost moving through my own house. My Florida home, once filled with warmth, now felt like an empty shell. But grief has a strange way of sharpening the senses. I started noticing small details that gnawed at me. Javier's office desk, always neat, looked hurriedly cleared before the funeral. His phone, locked with a password I did not know, buzzed constantly in those early days, but then went silent. And then there was the envelope. It was tucked away inside his top drawer, hidden beneath stacks of insurance papers. I found it by accident while searching for the will. My hands trembled as I pulled it out. It was unsealed, as if waiting for me. Inside were a few pages covered in his handwriting, only it was not addressed to me. My stomach twisted as I read the first line, "To the one who truly knows me." Those words struck like lightning. For 30 years, I believed I was the one who truly knew Javier. But who was this letter for? And what truths had he hidden from me in the life we shared? That envelope became the seed of suspicion that refused to die. I tried to bury it under my grief, but late at night, when sleep would not come, I would replay those words again and again. To the one who truly knows me. Who was that person? And why, after 30 decades of marriage, did I feel like a stranger in my own story? That night, as thunder rolled across the Florida sky, I clutched the letter to my chest. I felt both betrayed and terrified. If I opened the rest of it, my life could change forever. But then again, my life had already changed the moment Javier's heart stopped beating. And so, with trembling hands, I unfolded the next page. What I saw made me gasp aloud, because the name written there was not mine. It was someone I knew, someone I never would have suspected. And at that moment, I realized this was not only a story of death and mourning, This was the beginning of a painful truth, one that would shatter everything I thought I knew about love, loyalty, and my own marriage. And I knew that my story of loss was only just beginning. The letter shook in my trembling hands, the ink blurring as tears filled my eyes. I whispered the name aloud, almost afraid to hear it echo in the silence of my home. Clara. Clara was not some stranger from the shadows. Clara was my closest friend. She was the woman who had stood beside me at my wedding, the one who had held my hand through the birth of my first child. She was godmother to my daughter. For 30 years, Clara had been more than a friend. She had been family. I felt the blood drain from my face as I reread the page. Javier's words were unmistakable. He wrote about a bond built on truth, about a love I could not deny. And there it was again, that cursed phrase, to the one who truly knows me. I felt sick. My husband had died in my arms, and all the while had he been carrying the heart of another woman, a woman I trusted, a woman I confided in, a woman I believed would never betray me? The Florida night pressed heavy around me. The sound of waves crashing beyond the shore carried into the silence of my empty living room. And for the first time, I hated the ocean. It seemed to mock me with its endless rolling lies. I slammed the letter shut and shoved it back into the envelope. My chest heaved and I whispered, "No, this cannot be true." I wanted to believe that it was a mistake, that Javier's words were taken out of context, that I was imagining things, but the ink was there, etched in his handwriting, raw and undeniable. The days that followed became a blur of suspicion. Every time Clara called to check in on me, I found myself gripping the phone tighter, my responses clipped and cold. She would say things like, "How are you holding up, Irene? Remember, I am always here for you." And I would bite down on the bitter truth that pressed against my tongue. I wanted to scream at her. I wanted to demand answers, but something inside me hesitated. What if confronting her destroyed everything? What if my children found out that their father had betrayed me with the woman they called Aunt Clara? The grief that had once broken me now mixed with anger, and it burned hotter with every passing day. One night, as I sat alone in Javier's office, I decided to dig deeper. The room smelled faintly of his cologne, sandalwood and musk, a scent that once brought me comfort, but now made me nauseous. I pulled open drawer after drawer, searching for anything that might tell me the truth. And then I found it. Hidden in the bottom drawer was a small black notebook. The leather cover was worn, and the pages inside were filled with Javier's handwriting. At first, it looked like business notes, reminders, phone numbers, but as I flipped through, I stumbled upon passages that were painfully personal. Notes about Clara, mentions of meetings I never knew about, words like freedom, escape, and truth. By the time I reached the end of the notebook, my heart felt like shattered glass. Javier had been planning something that involved Clara. And worst of all, he had kept it all from me. The next morning, my daughter Emily noticed something was wrong. She placed a gentle hand on my shoulder and asked me, "Mom, are you all right?" I wanted to tell her the truth, to let the weight spill from my chest. But how could I? How could I destroy her memory of the father she adored? Instead, I forced a smile and said, "I am just tired, sweetheart." But children can sense when their mothers are lying. Emily studied me with worried eyes, and for a moment I feared she already suspected. Later that evening, I overheard my children whispering in the kitchen. My son Daniel said, "Mom has been acting strange. Do you think she's hiding something?" Their words cut me deeply. I was caught between two worlds, one where I remained silent to protect them, and another where the truth spilled out and tore everything apart. And then came the phone call. It was Clara. Her voice trembled as she said, "Irene, I need to see you. There is something I've been meaning to tell you, something about Javier." My heart nearly stopped. I gripped the phone so hard that my knuckles turned white. I asked, "What do you mean?" She hesitated. "Not over the phone, please. Meet me tomorrow, at the pier. You deserve to know everything." The line went dead. I stared at the receiver, my mind racing. Did she know that I had found the letter? Was she about to confess? Or was this some twisted attempt to spin her own story, to make herself look innocent in a betrayal that cut me to the bone? I could hardly sleep that night. Every shadow in the house felt like it carried Javier's ghost, watching me, judging me, laughing at me for believing in a love that was never truly mine. By dawn, I knew one thing for certain. The truth was coming for me, whether I was ready or not. The next day, I drove to the pier. The Florida sun blazed hot against my skin, but inside, I felt frozen. I spotted Clara standing by the rail, her figure small against the vast ocean. She turned, her eyes filled with something I could not read. Guilt, fear, maybe even sorrow. And then, as I walked towards her, she said the words that shattered the last piece of my heart.
"Irene, Javier and I, we loved each other, and there is more you need to know." Her words hung in the salty air like a knife pressed against my throat. Javier and I, we loved each other. For a moment, the world around me fell silent. The waves no longer crashed, the gulls no longer cried, and even the sun above seemed to dim. My body went numb, as if I had stepped out of myself and was watching from a distance. "Loved each other," I finally managed to whisper, my voice trembling like glass about to shatter. "Clara, what are you saying? How long?" She lowered her gaze, her fingers gripping the wooden railing of the pier so tightly I thought it might snap beneath her hands. "Years, Irene. It started years ago, but it was never meant to hurt you. He loved you too. He was torn." The audacity of her words burned through me like fire. Torn? How could a man be torn between 30 years of marriage and a secret affair with the woman I trusted most? My voice rose, trembling with rage. "You sat at my table, Clara. You held my children. You looked me in the eyes every single day while stealing what was mine." Tears welled in her eyes, but I felt no sympathy. "It was never about stealing, Irene. It was about love. Javier said he could not live a lie forever. He was planning to tell you. That notebook, those words, freedom, escape, and truth, he had been planning something indeed." But Clara's voice dropped lower, almost a whisper carried by the ocean breeze. "There is something else, Irene, something you must know." I froze, bracing myself. She continued, "Javier was not just leaving you. He was preparing to leave everything for someone else, for someone who already knew the truth." The world tilted beneath my feet. "Someone else? What do you mean, Clara? Who?" She hesitated, her lips trembling as though speaking the name would summon a ghost. "Your daughter, Emily." My heart stopped. "What?" Clara nodded, her eyes filling with shame. "He told Emily about us months before he died. He wanted her to understand, to prepare her for the change. He trusted her with the secret before he ever told you." The pier beneath me might as well have collapsed into the sea. My knees buckled, and I grabbed the railing to steady myself. My Emily? My child? My blood? My comfort in grief? She had known? She had carried this betrayal in silence while I cried myself to sleep each night. No, I said firmly, shaking my head. You are lying, Clara. You are desperate. You will say anything to cover your guilt. But deep inside, memories clawed their way back to the surface. Emily's worried eyes when she asked if I was all right, her constant unease, the way she seemed to stop herself from speaking when Javier's name came up. The puzzle pieces I had ignored began to lock into place, and I felt my soul break in ways I never thought possible. I turned on Clara, my voice sharp as shattered glass. Why tell me this now? Why not let me bury him in peace? Let me heal? Let me live in ignorance? Clara's tears spilled freely now. Because you deserve the truth, Irene, and because Emily will not be able to hide it forever. Better you hear it from me than from her. I wanted to strike her, to throw her into the ocean, to silence her forever. But anger gave way to something worse, dread. When I returned home that night, I could not look at Emily the same way. Her gentle smile, the way she fussed over dinner, the way she touched me on my shoulder with concern, it all looked poisoned now. I watched her closely, searching her eyes for betrayal. Finally, unable to hold it in, I asked, Emily, is there something you need to tell me? Her fork froze midway to her lips. For a long, heavy moment, she said nothing. Then she set it down carefully and whispered, Mom, I think we should talk. My heart clenched as her eyes filled with tears. I knew about Dad and Clara. I wanted to tell you, but he begged me not to. He said it would destroy you. I hated keeping it from you, but he was my father. I did not want to betray him. Her voice cracked, and she covered her face with her hands. I felt the room spin, betrayed by my husband, betrayed by my best friend, and now betrayed by my own daughter. I stumbled back from the table, clutching my chest. Do you know what you have done to me, Emily? Do you know what it feels like to be the fool in your own family, in your own life? Emily sobbed. I'm sorry, Mom. I thought I was protecting you. But her words could not touch the wound in my heart. I felt alone, surrounded by traitors in the very home I had built with love. That night, I locked myself in Javier's office, staring at his photograph. I wanted to scream, to rip it into shreds, but my voice failed me. Instead, I whispered, Why, Javier? Why destroy us all? Why drag Emily into your lies? The sound of the ocean drifted through the window, cruel and endless. And as I sat there in silence, I realized something chilling. If Emily had carried his secret, if Clara had shared in his betrayal, then who else had been part of Javier's hidden world? A knock sounded at the door. It was Daniel, my son. His voice was low, serious. Mom, we need to talk. I know more about Dad than you think. And in that instant, I understood. The web of lies had not ended. It was only growing darker.
Daniel's words struck me like thunder. I know more about Dad than you think. For a moment, I just sat frozen in the office chair, Javier's photo staring back at me with that familiar smile that now felt like a mask. My son's voice outside the door was steady, not trembling like Emily's had been. That frightened me more. I opened the door, and Daniel stepped in. He carried the same broad shoulders as his father, but his eyes, those dark, burning eyes, were filled with something heavier. Guilt, knowledge, pain. Sit. I said, my voice breaking. Tell me everything. No more lies. Daniel sat down slowly, folding his hands in front of him. He looked me in the eye, and for the first time since Javier's death, I realized my son had been carrying his own secret. Mom, Dad told me about Clara too, but that is not all. He was planning to leave. Not just you, not just us. He had debts, Mom. Debts none of us knew about. He was preparing to sell the house, to disappear with Clara, to start over somewhere else. He was drowning, and we were all going to pay the price. The air in the room thickened, pressing down on me like a weight. Disappear? I whispered. Javier nodded. He was gambling. Stocks, bets, investments gone wrong. He was borrowing money. He owed people, dangerous people. He thought running away with Clara was his only chance. I felt the blood drain from my face. All those long nights when Javier said he was working late, the sudden withdrawals from our joint account, the stress I had noticed but dismissed as work pressure, it all made sense now. My marriage had not only been broken by infidelity, it had been drowning in betrayal, lies, and financial ruin. I looked at Daniel, my hands trembling. And you? You knew this? How long? He lowered his eyes. A few months before he died. He came to me desperate, begging for money. I did not know what to do. I thought if I kept quiet, he would fix it. Then the heart attack happened, and I thought maybe the secrets would die with him. My body shook with rage and despair. My children had carried his sins. My best friend had carried his love. And I, his wife, had carried the illusion of a faithful marriage. I stood up, clutching the edge of the desk for balance. So I was the only one living blind, the only one who believed in him. Daniel's voice broke. Mom, I did not want to hurt you, but the hurt had already consumed me. The weeks that followed were the darkest of my life. Grief turned to anger, anger to bitterness. I could not look at Clara without wanting to destroy her. I could not look at Emily without feeling betrayed. I could not look at Daniel without feeling used. My family was splintered, and I was the broken center. But life has a strange way of forcing light into the cracks. It began with a chance meeting at the community center where I attended grief counseling. His name was Michael. He was 60, a retired firefighter who had lost his wife 2 years earlier. His voice was steady, his presence calming, and when he spoke, he did not sugarcoat grief. He said, "Pain will not kill you, Irene, but silence will." Something about his honesty broke through my walls. I found myself talking to him, telling him things I had never said aloud. The betrayal, the lies, the way Javier's death had opened wounds deeper than death itself. He did not judge me. He listened. And in that listening, I found a strange comfort. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Michael and I began meeting outside of the sessions, coffee at the cafe by the beach, walks along the Florida pier where I once faced Clara's confession. He never pushed, never rushed. He simply let me be. And slowly, I began to heal. One evening, as the sun dipped low over the horizon, painting the sky in shades of fire and gold, I found myself laughing again. Not the hollow laughter I had forced for months, but a real deep laugh. Michael had told a silly story from his days at the firehouse, and for the first time since Javier's death, I felt alive. I realized then that love does not always come in youth, in perfection, in fairy tales. Sometimes it comes in the ashes of betrayal, in the quiet of late life, in the arms of someone who knows the weight of loss. Michael never replaced Javier. He never tried. But he gave me something I thought I had lost forever. Hope. Looking back now, I see the lessons hidden in the wreckage. Betrayal taught me that even the people we trust most can shatter us. Loss taught me that grief is not a straight path, but a storm that ebbs and flows. And love, unexpected, late life love, taught me that healing is possible, even when the heart is scarred. To those listening, let my story be a reminder. Life may break you, but it can also surprise you. Do not give up on yourself, even when betrayal and pain seem endless. Sometimes love finds us when we least expect it. Before I end, I want to thank you once again for being here with me. If this story has touched you, please leave a comment below. Share your thoughts, your feelings, your own experiences of love, loss, or betrayal. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Your support is the heartbeat that keeps these stories alive. This was my journey from widowhood and brokenness to unexpected love and healing, and I hope it leaves you with this truth. Even in the ruins, beauty can still grow.